and we move on to Özgür Özçelik. Well, I hope I
Yes,
pronounced correctly your name.
that's okay. It's a very good try.
Thank you very much. The microphone is yours.
Yes, thank you very much, Dimitris. Before starting, for those who are Italian among us, I want to say something in Italian just to, show my very poor Italian skills. Voglio dire qualcosa in italiano per I nostri amici italiani. Buongiorno a tutti, speriamo di vederti qui di persona. Because I see that they're a little bit silent, maybe this will cheer them up. So, urgency of building inventory studies for seismic risk prioritization towards hazard resilient Izmir is the title of my presentation. The outline is as follows. I'm going to take a general look at what is disaster, what is risk. I'm going to look at world and Turkey and Izmir in particular. Then concepts of resistance versus resilience. Then what is an earthquake loss model and why do we need them? I will try to answer that question. Then a particular study I'm going to talk about, which is something that we have done back in 2012, which is the building inventory work and risk assessment for Balçova and Seferihisar districts. And I will present some results and what needs to be done towards more resilient Izmir. As we all know, there are different types of hazards, right? There are natural hazards, geological, hydrometeorological, anthropic hazards like chemical, technological, or socio-organizational, and there are astronomical hazards. If we take a look at them very quickly, some of those are earthquakes on the geological side, landslides and falls. On the hydrometeorological side, we have hailstorms, tropical cyclones, we have fires, we have ecological side, we have water pollution, and socio-organizational side, we have mass movements, terrorism, vandalism, and so on and so forth. So let's look at what is risk, okay? Risk has some elements. First, you need to identify a hazard, and that hazard can be natural or anthropic hazard. Then, what is at risk due to that hazard? And it can be people, it can be, property, including buildings, critical infrastructure, or reputation, right? Reputation of, or confidence in an entity. That is the vulnerability assessment part. And there is the impact, the casualties, impact on the people, the business interruption, or environmental contamination. So what has been done in the world? Some of those were kind of, you can trace back to Hyogo framework, which was a conference and World Conference on Disaster Reduction. And there, a framework was set in motion. And Turkey was one of the signatories of the Hyogo framework. In the Hyogo framework, the reason I'm mentioning this is because a paradigm shift happened. And the paradigm shift was from resistance to resilience. And why resilience is important, I will try to summarize that. More than half of the world population live with different types of hazards. Therefore, we should do more than providing just resistance. The concept of urban resilience means bouncing back rapidly from the losses inflicted due to disasters by developing skills and planning so that cities are back to being livable again in a short period of time. So resilience is a more complete framework. It doesn't just provide resistance, but it also provides kind of adaptive learning from that resistance so that you can build better. So there are 4 elements of resilience, of a resilience framework. First is context, which is resilience of what? A system or a process or a building or a system of buildings. Then you ask the question, resilience to what? in terms of built environment, resistance to earthquakes or resistance to tsunamis or combination of these hazards, yeah, multi-hazard perspective. Then capacity to deal with disturbance, and that has certain elements: exposure, sensitivity, and adaptive capacity. And the fourth element is the reaction to disturbance. You know, how do you react to that disturbance? And you can do it. You do this in several ways. You can collapse, you can recover, but worse than before. You can bounce back to the same level, or you can do better than that, bounce back better. So after the Hyogo conference in 2009, Afad was established. Afad is the Disaster and Emergency Management Department of Turkey. This was an important step for us, for Turkey, because Afad has moved the lever from crisis management to risk management. With that, it promotes the model called Integrated Disaster Management Model. And with this model, the department aims in hazards and risk to be studied and understood in advance, providing effective intervention and coordination, and performing concerted post-disaster rehabilitation and improvement of efforts. So it is not just crisis management, but it's a risk management, and it's an integrated model. Afad, for earthquake, it published a very important, a visionary document called National Earthquake Strategies and Action Plans. And it covers the period between 2012 and 2013. It was a very visionary document. And one of the efforts within this document was building inventory works for cities to be finalized by 2017, in which the responsible entities are designated as city municipalities, and Afad being acting as the observing and controlling entity. So building inventory work for major cities in Turkey, it was, you know, obligatory to finish by 2017. After Hyogo, Sendai framework has been set, and the subtitle was Disaster Resilient Cities. And there were certain priorities put forward. The first one was understanding disaster risk, which was disaster risk management needs to be based on an understanding of disaster risk in all its dimensions of vulnerability, capacity, exposure of persons and assets, and hazard characterization. The second priority was strengthening the disaster risk governance, which is like what is Afad. You know, Afad is within this priority. Investing in disaster risk reduction and enhancing disaster preparedness for effective response and building back better. And the final work that I followed, at least, was a conference held in 2017, Global Platform for Disaster Risk Reduction, which was held in Cancun, Mexico. And the subtitle was Commitment to Action. And here, you know, other aspects of disaster management was stressed. And what was important in this conference was it stressed the inequality aspect for inhabitants of cities exposed to disasters, such as economic inequality, gender inequality. And there are some non-governmental initiatives for resiliency work, for resilient cities. One of them is shown here, which is 100 Resilient Cities. If you look at Turkey, this work was done by the United Nations Office of Disaster Risk Reduction. And this was a country report. If you look at Turkey, you know, the flood and earthquake are the two major hazards. And Izmir, which is here as shown here, if you look at the ordering of the cities, Izmir has the highest risk in terms of annual average of affected GDP. If you look at other cities in Izmir in terms of earthquake risk, Istanbul leads, of course, and the second comes Izmir. So, how do you do the risk assessment of building type structures? In order to assess earthquake performance of existing buildings, the following steps are taken. The first, soil and material characterization, also hazard characterization maybe should be done before. The second, developing a realistic nonlinear numerical model of the building and perform either static pushover analysis or nonlinear time history analysis. Then either retrofit or rebuild the ones which are unsafe. This roadmap is very cumbersome, time-consuming, and requires high level of expertise. So if you were to do such a thing for all the buildings in Izmir, then the question arises, how many buildings there are in Izmir? Based on a recent survey in 9 districts, there are approximately 1 million buildings in Izmir. So we can say that to do such an assessment work, this requires a lot of time and a large budget to perform a detailed analysis as described above. Just to give you an example, just for Istanbul, this kind of analysis requires 25 years and $25 billion to be specific. This work was done by Spence in 2017. So the question is, so this takes a lot of time, right? Which building group to start from? Because some of those buildings that you see on this picture are riskier than the others, right? So if I show you a picture like that and ask you which ones to start from, well, that's a hard question to understand. So the problem we are facing is as follows. The existing building stock is too large. Time required for data collection and assessment is too long, and the necessary budget to perform these tasks is very large. It's too hard to find the necessary budgetary sources and time. Then what to do? Well, staged or progressive assessment. These methods can be used as an alternative. This is a more sustainable and a manageable approach. So what is staged assessment? First level assessment. An expert collects data by visual screening of buildings. The data collected will allow to perform a preliminary risk assessment and provides a rudimentary prioritization. Then, once you have this rudimentary prioritization, you can apply second level assessment to those which are riskier, which are found labeled riskier within the first level assessment. So second level assessment, based on the results of the first level assessment, more in-depth data is collected from the prioritized buildings by entering into the buildings and surveying them from inside. And actually, project data is used to augment the data collected at this stage. And the third level assessment, based on the results of the second level assessment, static pushover or nonlinear time history analysis are performed on the selected buildings. What do you do with the important buildings? Well, for the important buildings such as schools, public buildings, hospitals, which are buildings necessary right after a disaster, are directly subjected to the third level assessment. So what is an earthquake loss model? Earthquake loss model, risk model is used to estimate losses after a damaging earthquake, to plan the work required before and after an earthquake, to prioritize buildings in terms of their earthquake risk in order to prevent loss of lives. So the main objective of an earthquake loss model is to combine regions earthquake hazard with regions building stock vulnerability so that damage distribution in regional scale can be estimated. So just to summarize it, you combine or you convolve seismic hazard with the vulnerability of that specific building stock to estimate damage. What is the outcome of such a work? The outcome is earthquake risk maps. The region, so you can have several things for these earthquake risk maps. The first one is the region can be divided into grids with certain size, let's say 2 kilometer by 2 kilometer. Then a single risk level is assigned to all the buildings within that cell. This approach has coarse, very rough resolution. This was done in Istanbul and also in also in Izmir back in 1999. The second approach would be individual buildings are assigned a risk level based on their address, which is called address-based approach. This approach has higher resolution, right? Which is the method chosen for Izmir, Balçova, and Seferihisar pilot project, which I will be presenting now. This was the coarse resolution map, the risk map. As you can see here, you see only one risk level assigned to a certain cell. So what did we do? The name of the project was Development of Building Stock Inventory and Earthquake Risk Assessment of Buildings, which was a pilot project which we performed for Balçova and Seferihisar districts. This was done by the Izmir municipality, by 9 Eylül University, and Chamber of Civil Engineers of Izmir branch. So what methods are used? For the first level methods, we used a rapid visual screening method. This was developed specifically for buildings in Turkey because every city or every country has a certain construction practice, okay? So vulnerabilities of that country, the building stock of that country is different than another country. So you have to develop specific methods for a specific country. So second level methods, we used 3 methods, Hasan and Sözen methods, improved discriminant analysis methods, and the third one was P25 methods. And these methods were also specialized for Turkish building stock. So what is the difference between first level and second level methods? First level methods, they are also called visual screening methods. These methods do not need project data. Many buildings are assessed in a very short time, okay? But the results are relatively less reliable. Second level methods, they require project data and/or material data. They require more time and resources, but the results are more reliable. So this is the classic decision schematic. So you have many buildings at this stage. You perform first level methods. First level methods divide the building group into low priority buildings and high priority buildings. So this is high priority buildings are fraction of the total building stock. Then you apply second level methods, and usually second level methods, they classify the buildings into 3 groups: low priority, medium priority, or high priority. Then for the high priority buildings, which are few buildings, then you apply third level methods, and then you label them safe or risky. For the project that I'm presenting for Balçova and Seferihisar pilot project, we did a little bit different than the classic schematic. So we only consider reinforced concrete buildings. There were buildings which are out of scope, so we put those aside. There were buildings without projects. So without projects, you can only apply first level methods. And the first level methods, they classify low priority and high priority. And for the high priority methods, you can, either you can apply second level method if you have time and budget. For buildings with projects, you can directly apply second level method, and those classify the buildings into low priority, medium priority, and high priority. So what the difference was, without applying first level methods to the buildings with projects, we directly apply the second level methods because they are more reliable. Here, the medium priority group are very uncertain. So here are the results. Visual screening for Balçova district, by visual screening, which is a first level method, we found that 34% of those buildings are high priority and 66% low priority. For second level methods, improved discriminant analysis, you have 18% more, high risk or more priority or high priority, let's say, 57% medium priority and 25% low priority. Another second level method, which was P25, you see that you get different ratios, different numbers. For Seferihisar, which is we get 17%, which by visual screening, we got 17% high priority, 83% low priority. By using improved discriminant analysis, we got 11% high priority. By using P25 method, we got 7% high priority. So the first problem is this: different methods give different results for the same building group. And among methods, different levels of matching is observed. What I mean by that is, for a particular building, improved discriminant analysis may say this is medium level priority building, but P25 method may say, oh, this is a high priority building. So let's look at the result of second level methods for buildings in Balçova. And you see the y-axis is the percentage of building, and the colors are, the red is high priority, yellow is medium priority, and green is low priority. And the x-axis are the second level methods. So we use 3 different second level methods. As you can see, in all of these results, there is a fat medium region, which is a very uncertain region, because we cannot say to those buildings within the middle region whether they are safe or not. So a large fat medium priority region. So this is another result which is kind of interesting. This is for Balçova buildings. We applied first level method to all of those Balçova buildings, and those which are labeled low priority, to those buildings we applied the second level method. And as you can see, the first level methods, they miss some of the high priority buildings labeled by the second level methods. Okay, so buildings are missed by the first level methods. So the third problem is there are buildings classified as high priority by the second level methods among the buildings in which the first level methods classify them as low priority. So how to solve these 3 problems? We came up with a decision matrix, okay? So what the idea was, this idea behind the decision matrix was as follows. More reliable aspects of different methods are considered given the data in hand, and 3-level priority ranking is increased to 5-level ranking. Therefore, priority classes are refined and be made more manageable. So basically we used strong sides, different strong sides of each method to come up with a more reliable estimate. And once we've done that, for Balchova, we have 5 priority levels. And for Balchova buildings, reinforced concrete buildings, only 12.6% were within priority level 1. And the second level was 11.5. And as you can see, the fat medium level buildings were kind of were made leaner, right? For Seferihisar, only 5% of those buildings were within the priority level 1. And the second level was 7.2%. Another result was here shown for Balchova and Seferihisar. The x-axis is the story number, okay, and the y-axis is the building percentage. And as you can see here, as earthquake risk increases with increasing story number, right? A second result was here x-axis is the year in which that building is built, and the y-axis is the building percentage. And as you can see, older buildings have higher priority. So a potential synthesis from this work was older buildings with stories 6+ and higher, six and higher are riskier. So if you were to tell me which building group to start from, I would say go to older buildings with stories 6 stories and higher. Okay. And this is the earthquake risk map for Balchova. And as you can see here, individual buildings are assigned a risk level. Okay. So you can see here that building is riskier than the other, and so on and so forth. And this is for Seferihisar, a more refined map. You can do a lot of things with this, with all these results. For example, you can come up with total construction building area. If you look at priority 1 buildings, you have 370,000 meters square construction area. If you include the priority 2 buildings, then you get this much additional construction area. If you add the second priority level buildings, you would get 116% increase, okay? So what should we do for the prioritized buildings? Buildings are classified based on their priority levels. They must be assessed with a third level methods, right? Based on the outcome of the third level assessment, buildings must be either retrofitted or demolished and rebuilt. And we may have to look at, for example, simplified retrofitting methods. They may be considered for low-rise, high-priority buildings. Is it only a priority map, what we did? No. We established a digital archive with projects, title deeds, licenses. Individual building specific data used to assign risk levels. Cost estimation can be done for high priority buildings. An estimation has been done to assess the size of post-disaster work. What to do next? The work must be extended to other districts of Izmir. Methods to be developed for economical retrofitting of existing buildings. City planning aspect, legal aspects, financial aspects, social risk and disaster management aspects must be studied. Thank you for listening. I think I extended my time a little bit. Yeah, thank you for listening. If you have any question, I would be more than happy to answer.
Thank you very much, Özgür. I think we are still on time, according to the schedule. So if anybody wants to ask a question, I see no written question, so we have a couple of minutes for any question now orally. I don't see anybody interested in posing a question. So thank you very much. I would like to thank all of